Hi everybody, it's Alex Newton from K-lytics, today with the Kindle Market Trends for October 2018. So let's have a look. In our monthly Trend Watch, we take a closer look at the Kindle bestseller lists. And today I'm gonna start with some key trends in the fiction market. If you take a closer look at the top genres in our K-lytics basic report, of which you can get a free copy at klytics.com/free report, that's free-report, you will see that the sales volume on the Kindle platform is dominated by essentially three main genres: romance, mystery, thriller, suspense, and science fiction and fantasy, if you set aside for a moment the umbrella categories literature and fiction and nonfiction. The third of these three, science fiction and fantasy, has lost a little bit here over time. This is the performance of the top 100 bestsellers on average over the last 18 months. You see the trend line is pointing downwards ever so slightly. So from a helicopter perspective, science fiction has been doing not as well as romance. Does that mean that science fiction is an unattractive market? No, nothing could be further from the truth. It breaks down into more than 130 sci-fi and fantasy subgenres that we took a closer look in our recent sci-fi and fantasy study. And in there we saw that still a lot of submarkets have a very attractive ratio of sales versus competition. That means there are a lot of markets that rank high on our K-lytics strategy map. You see here, these are all the science fiction submarkets, and those in the green zone have a very good sales rank, meaning they're high up on the chart, but they're not too crowded relative to that level of sales. So the further the dot is to the right of this chart, the more titles, the more competition is in the category. And you see here the hot niches. These are markets between 2,000 and 10,000 titles in the category, and there are still a whole number of markets with less than 2,000 titles in the category. On top of that, you can look at trends, and the one we just identified here is superhero fiction. Well, you know, in various Facebook forums, we've heard people talk about superhero fiction. If you do take a look, then you see that over the last 18 months, the trend line for that bestseller list has clearly been pointing upwards. In fact, the average sale rank improved by as much as 54% over the last 12 months. And with this improvement, we currently see here on the strategy map superhero fiction as one of the hot niches, where the average sales rank across the top 20 titles in the bestsellers is around 1,358 in the Kindle store. The category size is below 7,000 English-speaking titles. If we take a closer look at that bestseller list in particular, within science fiction and fantasy, there is a dedicated superhero fantasy ebooks category. We see what's driving the trend. Well, there are a couple of real superhero type of fiction novels, but if you take a closer look, the performance of the bestsellers has also been driven by a whole number of lit RPG. That's literature, role-playing game literature, where you have elements of computer role-playing games combined with sci-fi and fantasy, as well as a whole number of, urban fantasy type of novels and covers. So you see we have an amalgamation of, urban fantasy, supernatural thrillers, superhero literature, game literature that you can find in there. This summer we covered the urban fantasy part of this in detail, so you can have a look in the members area. We also have lit RPG, although I have to update that report soon. And superhero, given that performance here overall, I'm definitely going to put this into the research pipeline for a dedicated study on this one. Finally, if you take an overall look at the science fiction bestseller list, you see things like Handmaid's Tale, The Man in the High Castle have been up there in the bestseller list for a while, combined with also post-apocalyptic fiction. And given this trend here for dystopian and post-apocalyptic, also alternative history type of novels, we just released our first time post-apocalyptic and dystopian market report, fresh from the press, so do check it out. Then let's talk here about the number 2 market, mystery, thriller, suspense. It has been performing on a very high and stable level. The trend line here over the last 18 months, pointing upwards ever so slightly, but the message is, very high sales, very stable. Also here you have lots of markets with, very high level of sales and reasonable level of competition. And one bestseller list that struck my eye this month is this one here, Crime Fiction Serial Killers, which has seen a 61% improvement in 12 months sales rank performance. So it is a very interesting bestseller list to check out and monitor over time. Obviously, as always, not all the books will entail serial killers, but they are positioned in there. And here, have a look. Gripping serial killer thrillers. There are a whole number of these that really fit this genre, where also the very term serial killer is used in the title and book description to clearly position as a book for that market towards people who love reading these type of crime novels. Then let's talk about the uncontested number one market on Kindle, the romance market. Romance overall is so big that it's always performing very high up there, and it's been extremely stable over the last 18 months on a high level. But also once you go to the next level of detail, in the case of romance, we have about 80 subcategories on Kindle that are explicitly in the romance main category or in adjacent categories. This time around, when we looked at these in details, we're now covering also the level 4 and level 5 categories. So do check out our romance special report and seminar. The one good news about romance right now is that price levels, which have really been under pressure for a long while, have over the last 18 months clearly improved. You see, back in 2017, April, May, the average price points for the top 100 in Kindle romance was below $250, which was like dismally low. Ever since, if you put a trend line through that here, the price levels have improved back up a bit again. So very good news. So by now the prices have recovered here to a level of like $350 on average. So that doesn't mean you price at $350, but it means that the relative share of price points like $299 and $399, even $499 has increased again in romance. Then I also want to briefly talk about teen and young adult, where the overall performance of the top 100 has been a bit volatile here over the last 18 months. You see, it's been going up, then down again here, September, October 2017. We had very good performance in January 2018. Then the performance, took a dive again towards May, June. Has been recovering again. So a little more volatile. So also here you have to take a closer look. And, once you go to the next level, there are a couple of interesting bestseller lists to have a closer look at. One here, for example, Teen Young Adult Mysteries and Thrillers / Science Fiction. That one has seen a strong upward trend here over the last, about 12 months, 74% improvement. And what makes this a very interesting bestseller list is the sales are very high. Average sales rank is 2,545 store-wide, but the number of English titles in the category is less than 700 titles. So it's a really small market, one that we call a hot sell. And if you take a closer look at teen, young, adult, sci-fi, mystery books, you will see a lot of books by, famous Michael Underley by now that populate this bestseller list. Also some lit RPG. But you see, Michael is currently all over the place. So congratulations, Michael. Really well done. All right. Now, I know I haven't covered nonfiction in this edition of the Kindle Trends. We'll do so in the next month. Otherwise, have a look at our K-lytics Elite database, where we have literally, more than 1,000 nonfiction categories with all their performance. Overall, nonfiction has improved in performance relative to literature and fiction that has been leading by comparison all along, I think ever since Kindle existed. All right, so much for the Kindle Trends October 2018. If you like what you see and you're not a member yet, come check us out at k-lytics.com. That's k-lytics.com. This is Alex Newton from K-lytics, ebook market intelligence for success.